Hello. Can everybody hear me? That's probably really loud on your end. How's everybody doing today? I'm fine. Thanks for asking. Today, I want to talk about something called the law of accommodation. This is something I intuitively thought to be true before it was brought to my attention by Dragon Door, who creates the Isomax, invented the Isomax. So speaking of Dragon Door Isomax, let's just play this in the background here so you got something to look at. The law of accommodation states the body's response to a stimulus decreases over time if the stimulus is repeated. I'll say it again. The law of accommodation states the body's response to a stimulus decreases over time if the stimulus is repeated. Wow. The law of accommodation applies to everything in the biological world, including workouts. So the law of accommodation, how does that apply to our exercise? Over time, the workout will work less. Over time, if you continue to repeat the same stimulus, the body will not perceive it as a threat any longer, and it will not adapt any longer. Wow. Like I said, I kind of figured this was the case, but someone actually naming it the law of accommodation and then speaking about it makes it seem real. So the body wants to stay in homeostasis. When you do a workout, you're applying a stimulus and you're taking the body out of homeostasis. The body perceives it as a threat, as if you are not able to eat or defend yourself or seek shelter. So then it adapts by making the systems of the body, including the musculature, improve. This is what we want. This is everything that we need. However, over time, the body self-regulates and it perceives the workout as not as much of a threat. So it overrides any adaptations you might need. And says, you can't really trick me anymore, my guy. You've been doing the same workout for 467 days straight. I'm not going to adapt anymore. Some people call this a plateau in the gym. I'm sure you've realized this. You, at some point, can no longer advance or improve or overload. You simply hit a plateau. And what most people do in this scenario is they don't think they're working hard enough. So they push themselves even harder. They go longer in the gym, or they go more days, or they add and try and increase weight. The body is going to adapt maybe once or twice to the stimulus, and then it's going to go back to its homeostasis, where it's going to pause any adaptations. The law of accommodation can change the way that we exercise or that we program to exercise. Wow. We want the law of accommodation in life. You know, we want, for example, if like basketball players, they shoot 55,000 free throws a year. The body gets used to the stimulus and it has almost becomes easier to them to shoot the basketball. Any sort of practice over the long term, any sort of reps over the long term, your body gets used to it. That's the law of accommodation. We don't want this in exercise. We don't want the body to get used to exercise. In fact, we want the body to go into fight or flight when we're working out. So this goes hand in hand with the 2 workouts per week that I advocate for. Now, with the law of accommodation, I don't know if I'll ever stop doing 2 workouts per week, but you have to consider, is 2 workouts per week for the rest of your life, is that even too much? You know, is the body going to say after 10 years, all right, I get this. I get this. Okay, every Monday and Friday, you're going to work out. We're going to increase the heart rate. You're going to create tension in the muscles. Yep, have fun doing that. I hope you enjoy it, but we're not going to grow any muscle mass and we're not going to get any stronger. So what do we do about this? Like I said, you decrease the frequency of workouts so that the body is always perceiving the exercise as a threat, so it adapts. Also, varying the stimulus. How do we vary the stimulus? I don't love switching and hopping actually program to program. I don't love doing that. But there needs to be variation so that we hover just below the law of accommodation. The law of accommodation is right here. We want to be butting up against it. We never want to touch it or surpass it because now we're being inefficient and we're wasting our time, truthfully. So, what do we do? The easiest thing for me to think of is to do 1 to 2 workouts per week. And the next thing is to vary probably the reps and sets and the load. I would imagine that isometrics is the easiest to do this with, to stay underneath the law of accommodation, because you can just vary the contraction seconds. So, and plus isometrics has 50 million different exercises you could do. So your body is never going to get used to the same movement or the same positions. Whereas if you were just using workout equipment and you're using the same 10 exercises, your body's going to get used to, okay, here's the chest press. This is the range of motion we're moving in. These are the muscles that we're working. And it's going to stop adapting to this. And let me know, anybody, have you ever experienced this yourself or seen someone go to the gym every single day and it just does not seem like their body is adapting or they're getting any stronger? So the law of accommodation with isometrics is dive in and buy into the variety of positions you can get the body into. Because I'd imagine just changing a slight angle, your body's going to perceive that stimulus different, and it's going to perceive it as a threat, and it's going to allow the body to adapt. So I'd imagine just changing the slight angle of the isometrics should do the trick, and then change the seconds and the duration. You know, right when you feel like you're not advancing at all, go down to 6-second contractions for 6 sets and do that for a little while, and then switch up and do 45-second contractions 1 set. Increase the intensity, things like this. So we need to be talking about this more. For the people that are just logging on, the law of accommodation states, let's just make sure I get this right. The law of accommodation states the body's response to a stimulus decreases over time if the stimulus is repeated. That has huge implications to exercise and the results that we get. So variety and frequency of stimulus needs to be dialed in. If you hit a plateau, you don't push harder doing the same exercises or push the frequency because you're just going to be doing nothing. I wonder how can anybody put this into and make this an analogy? I'm trying to think of maybe a governor. Have you ever driven a golf cart and it's got a governor on it? And the golf cart may be able to do 30 miles an hour, but the governor restrains it to do 15 miles an hour. So no matter how big you make the engine or how far down you push the pedal, the golf cart's going to only do 15 miles an hour. We need to take the governor out, which I've done before and done 40 miles an hour in a golf cart, which I don't recommend to anybody. It's not safe. So can anyone else give me an analogy so that my pea brain could explain this better? Or an analogy in the gym? I guess it's just primal. Again, going back to the primitive evolutionary response that has kept humans alive for so long. It's a state of homeostasis that we always want to maintain for good reason. We want to whack our body out of homeostasis every once in a while, but not too much where the body overrides it. Wow. The body's pretty smart, huh? That's good because I'm a shit for brains. So that's something I really got going good for me. That's what I kind of wanted to cover today, law of accommodation. Does anybody have any questions for me or any thoughts on the topic or on the topic of isometrics or anything like that? feel free to ask now. In the meantime, I will take a look over here at this workout that I'm currently doing on the side of the screen. Let's see if I can get myself smaller. Throw me in the corner here. Am I down? Okay, here we go. Let's take a look here. Let's full screen this joint. Okay, this is the ISO Max. I'm not sure if anybody has ever seen me do this or if you use this yourself, but this is an isometric tool that records your force output. This is one of the tools that I use for isometrics. The other is the ISOFit. It has a strap and a carabiner that allows you to hit different exercises in different ranges of motion. Really, with isometric, there is no range of motion. It's just a joint angle. Here I'm doing, I believe, 6 sets of 6 seconds, which according to the Isometrics manual by Paul Wade is probably the best bang for your buck. It covers both max strength, max endurance, and max hypertrophy. So I'm doing the front raise. If anybody doesn't front raise, it's really not a strong exercise for anyone really, because the front delts are at a mechanical disadvantage because the lever arm is so far away from the pivot point, and your front delts are just small musculature. And then here's the upright row. Am I an upright row guy? I'm not an upright row guy. However, with the ISO Max doing isometrics, I throw it in every once in a while because it's just, again, variety. We want to hover below the law of accommodation. I rotate through my tools of isometrics. I use the ISO Max one day. I use ISOFit the next day. I'll do a dynamic exercise using Nautilus equipment. I'll do a dynamic exercise using Harambe system. Those are the 4 things that me and my clients will go and continue to rotate through. ISO Max, ISOFit, Nautilus, Harambe system. It's just what I found to be the most fun, the most entertaining, the most engaging, and the most beneficial. Here I'm going to overhead press. Again, like I said, ISO Max records your force output at any given joint angle. So it'll give you your max output, and it'll give you your average output for the duration of that contraction. That's your max output. 96.6 is my pounds of force there. Not great, not terrible. I've done better, I've done worse. Then another thing that you can do with ISO Max is you can set it to load mode. And then you put a target number of pounds in there. And when you hit that target number, so say, for example, I want to do 100 pounds of force here. Right when you hit 100 pounds of force, it will beep. So it gives you that audio feedback. So you're not having to look at the bar. Another feature that it has is timed mode. So you set the load and you set the time. And every single time that you hit that load during a contraction, it will beep. For example, I had a 15-year-old client today who's a hockey athlete. He's trying to increase his weight transfer on the ice and have better body control. Nothing to me is better than isometrics for that. So we did the ISO Max. And what we did was 45-second contractions. I set the load to 10 pounds. So it wasn't 100% force output. But as long as he sustained or surpassed 10 pounds, it beeped for 45 seconds. This is a bear. Any 45-second contraction for an isometric is really tough. So that's the ISO Max. Fantastic tool. Does anybody have any questions? I think I have maybe like milk puke on my shoulder. My son is like 3 weeks old now, and he's, you know how it is. If you're a dad, sometimes you get a little spillage over, and now my clothes are just filled with stains, but guess what? That's okay. That's what part of being a dad. All right. Well, I guess, as much as I'd love to hang out with you guys, I'll take any questions, but it doesn't seem like anybody has any questions as of tonight. There's also only 2 viewers here right now, but guess what? I've said this before. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. It doesn't matter if there's 2 or 2 million, as long as I am able to communicate some things and some people out in the world, the right people, the right fans is what you need. Okay. So I'm flexing here. Let's just go to this. I don't love to do this, but let's just go to this here. How do I do this? How do I get back to here? Okay. So I just got done with that isomax set, and nobody says that isometrics makes muscle fiber. And I'm not the most jacked guy in the world. I'm not the most ripped guy in the world, but I'd like to think that I'm doing the best that I can here. This is the results of some isometric contractions. Again, not great. I'm a little fat around the waist area, and that's just because I'm not dieting at all. But just being dad strong is what I'm looking for. Some quads there. That's all I'm looking for, and maybe you guys are too. All right. Sorry about that. Maybe I should just keep myself off the camera the best that I can here. Let's go back to me here, fully clothed. Let's go back to me here, fully clothed. Greg, thanks, man. Thanks. Appreciate you logging on. I'm hoping I'm giving you some value. It is 7:30. It's Thursday night. I'm going to go watch the Thursday night football game, which is the Broncos versus Saints. I am a fan of neither. However, if football's on, I'll watch it. I believe the Yankees are on right now. I'm from New York, and the Yankees are on right now, which I should be watching. But guess what? Work is more important. Getting information to you guys is my priority at the moment. Both of my kids are sleeping right now, which if anyone's a dad or a mom out there, because I'd like to appeal to the female market as well, how great is when the kids go to sleep? I mean, is that not the best 2 hours? Wow. We're getting a decent amount of sleep at night, but not much. My wife's a trooper. She'll just pop out of bed at 6 a.m., not sleeping much. Am I going off the rails here? Maybe I'll keep it back. Let's get back on track with working out. I'll give 3 more minutes here to the people. Greg, go. Send your question. Use BFR bands when training. BFR bands, that's blood flow restriction. I do not. I had about a 16-year-old basketball player that I trained. He tore his ACL in season, and his physical therapist did use BFR bands, and this kid got ripped. Okay, this kid got ripped. So I would imagine that they work. Isometrics is similar with blood flow resistance bands because isometric contractions will contract the blood vessels and restrict the blood flow. And then once you relax the muscles, there's a maximum amount of blood flow to the muscles. So doing isometrics itself is kind of similar to BFR bands. I have not used them. I wish I could give you more information. I have an instinct. Intuitively, I think they work. A lot of other stuff is trash out there. I think those work. I haven't used them, but I think they work. Thanks for the question. Isometrics does something similar. Tomorrow is Friday. I have workouts starting at 6 a.m. Like I said, I do a Monday isometric set, Friday dynamic set. Tomorrow's my dynamic set. I'm going to use Nautilus equipment. I'm going to do a Nautilus circuit. I'm going to do single joint to multi-joint exercises pre-exhaust. I find that the pump with ISO and the bands. Yeah. So, okay. See, Greg, we're on the same page there. If you have any more information, do provide a larger pump. That just makes sense to me. It's not like you're putting anything in your body. You're restricting your normal bodily functions, which just makes sense to me. Anyway, I'm using Nautilus equipment. I'm going to do single joint to multi-joint. It's a pre-exhaust system that Mike Mentzer used to use. The reasoning behind that, let's say we're doing a lateral raise. We're doing a lateral raise, which is single joint, into a shoulder press, which is multi-joint. You pre-fatigue the deltoids by doing a single joint exercise. And once you pre-fatigue the delts, to get further fatigue, you go into a multi-joint exercise, which is going to recruit the triceps and give you like 10, 15 more reps on your delts that you may have not gotten if you were to just do a single joint exercise. That's a little old school high intensity training protocol that I like to work when I'm doing my dynamic set. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you for coming along for the ride. I hope I provided some value, and I love the feedback. Please like, subscribe, and share. Comment on the videos, and I'll answer. So great. Thanks. Over and out. Have a great night. See you later.